Lord, carry us home. The work here is completed. Facing into the night, we've got a path to rewind. Lord, grant me the strength, more than ever I needed. The still flickering light, Babylon burning behind. My spirit feels bent, the enemy is defeated. Somehow my heart feels lighter, got a new weight on my mind. For once, it was so easy to leave it. I can't quite believe it. I can't wait to be home. I can't wait to feel it, to taste it and breathe it, the sweet familiar air of many men good and honest. Since we set off, return was unlikely it seemed. All the ignorant dawn, and all its innocent promise. Careful, keep your tread soft, as you don't trample our dreams. We keep shuffling on. The scene keeps me astonished, each deep in their thoughts. How hopeful our burst at the seams. I can't wait to see it. My heart's telling me it. You're where I belong.
Thank you for graciously allowing me to indulge in a completely over-the-top intro song. I had planned for something a little more low-key, but there we are. Things do what they do. This here's the Old South Congregational Church in Windsor County, built by the old Asher Benjamin Blood feller. Yep, you remember that guy. We've seen him before. This here's the John Lehman House in Woodstock. It's a large house representative of a prosperous era and a prosperous town with unusually elaborate ornamentation, okay? Told the building structure date was 1809. Architect unknown. Builder suppliers, local labor, and original plans of construction also unknown. The house was enlarged probably to the rear, so I don't want to look, it's a little rude. And I'm gonna look anyway. Apparently. Look at that ornamentation on that porch. Yaddle bam hattie. There's some nice urns there, I'll tell you that much. And what was the point of the urns? Surely they served some purpose, some vessel. I've heard the theories, and there's probably something to them, but I want to see something in practice. Unless we can't work with that old energy system, maybe. He said vaguely, alluding to mysteries of our time. The General Lehman Maurer House. Ugh, look at that bad boy. What a certified gem. That's some brick dwellings you can keep. It's too good. That's some dwellings you can keep. This unusual large brick masonry house is built on the site of the first county courthouse in Woodstock, 1823. No information about the architect, builder, supplier, etc. Now, we're told that, well, that's basically all we're told. All we're told is, good day, sir. This is apparently an addition that's side of the house. That's a long addition. Look at that. Like a choo-choo train to build it. Just keep adding them on, boys. Like a houseapede. This is the portico, on the green. I guess they added some of this on in 1946, we're told. Not this part. This is part of the original. Yes, sir. The Till Parker Tavern. Yep, built originally as a tavern to house state representatives when the legislature met in Woodstock. 1807 was the initial construction date. As usual, this area, no one knows anything. Although this is one of the oldest houses in town, built by Tilly Parker for the accommodation of the members of the legislature, which held its session in the fall of that year. You will note the 5 teardrops above the windows. That peculiar feature. I can't really see them, actually. Trust me, they're there. The windows are crying. We are told that the contents of this building include treasure that doesn't appear to be pictured here. Amongst these treasures is allegedly a marble bust by the famous sculptor of the Greek slave, here empowered, 2 drums and a fife used in the Revolution, muskets and swords, records of the Sons of Temperance, and all sorts of other interesting memorabilia that you aren't allowed to see unless you pay the museum's admission, probably. Don't bother looking in the windows. That's right. Full limousine tint. That's right. Wouldn't you like to know who we had do it? I'll bet you would. Now, this one was also built as a tavern in 1787, the Captain Israel Richardson Tavern. Apparently it was moved to the site from the green, painted red, and then used as a tavern. I see you, little ninja man. No, you don't. That was terrible. No. Do. If you guys want to know the name of the company that I use to outsource my CGI work, well, I will leave that link in the description. This is the Benjamin Swan House, also at Woodstock in Windsor County. We're told the initial construction is 1801. Okay. House remained in the family of the original, a prominent Vermont figure, early 19th century. We're told the house remains essentially unchanged, and the Dana family were important locally and nationally. Although this hasn't been investigated, we're told the documents are preserved inside the house, and they wouldn't answer the door. So we are going to tell that story to cast a little dubious light on the tale. A lot of these are very similar in this Vermont. A little tight-lipped with the info, aren't you? Just a builder, maybe. Just one little, there's a tavern built by Jerry. That's all you can get. There's some very old homes, though, / tavern. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I do know what you're saying. Thank you. It's nice to be understood. Don't you agree, Captain? Get out of my sight. Still, though, I'm gonna go tell the guys that we agree. We can do better. No information about the structure. Notable for its columned portico. The original owners were the Mrs. Aylwin. That's it. Just an identification. 1829 was the reported date of erection. That's pretty much it. Brick inside, brick outside, brick everywhere. Brick to your left. Now brick to your right. Brick to your left. No, that's your right. Brick to your right. You're gonna die. So all of these are apparently the same type of bridge. This Parker's Patent Wrought Iron Truss Bridge. These read more like ads in a way. And although they're different locations, they're the same type of bridge. So you got this one here, where it says the bridge was erected without a single interruption to the passage of trains. Now, I don't know how that's even possible. How are the trains crossing the rail before the bridge, unless they're saying that they put the bridge up and then managed to alter the tracks right after it was done so the trains didn't have to stop? I don't know. It just seems like a weird, boastful claim, I guess, with 3 engines on it and these dudes posing. I don't know. It just seems like an advertisement for something. I don't know. And then we tried to go across it, but then this happened. Here, I have audio. Oh, here comes someone. Are you ready, everyone? You shall not pass! And so we didn't pass. How could we? Such a defiant stance. This we're told is another First Congregational Church. This one is on Bennington Green in Bennington County. Extremely fine country church of the early 19th century. And they say it was built in a year and a half, in 1804 to 1806, exactly 1 year and 6 months it took to create. And they added some stuff over the years. They put stoves in it in 1818, which would be odd that it didn't have stoves the first 14 years. And later on in 1820, they installed a bell, and it was refurbished about 100 years into its existence. And we are told that the cemetery fence is covered with urns. And also, Ethan Allen, the legendary patriot, revolutionary, and furniture store, attended church here. Imagine that. A furniture store attending church. What a time to be alive. A gorgeous chandelier. These old churches, they follow this very similar format, blueprint, with these little cubicles down here. They're almost like reserved private boxes for stakeholders, almost the way you'd have season tickets for a modern sports event. But man, 1804, the size of these columns. Pretty impressive, if that's indeed the case. Which I have my doubts. I knew how to whip that up in rural Vermont in 1805. This is the General Robinson House. What's the guy's name? General David Robinson, not the admiral who played for the San Antonio Spurs. This guy had this house built in 1795. And we're told the house was pretty torn up at the time of the survey. It was Mr. Colgate, who had recently purchased the property, was having extensive alterations performed. Before these alterations were started, the house was in excellent condition, but unoccupied. It closed a few fireplaces, and Mr. Colgate ruined it. It says down here on the notes, it was impossible for us to secure any other important data from any source. We cannot get out. We cannot get out. Drums, drums, drums from the deep. We cannot get out. And here the writing sort of trails off, and then there's blood all over the page. That's weird. Anyway, this is the Hindleville Methodist Episcopal Church, also Bennington County. 1858, this bad boy was initially constructed. And what a looker. Just look at that tower. Is that even necessary? It is definitely a Gothic revival. And one picture is all we get on. One fragging picture of that old world banger. I'm not okay with that. You hear me, Mr. America? You hear me, all America? I am not okay with that. I want to know more. It's like you get off on withholding. Governor Galusha House, place called Shaftesbury Center in Bennington County. Somewhere built between 1800 and 1810, with other work done in 1814. This building is in excellent condition at the time of this photograph and survey. Foundation is of stone. The floors are of wood. The steps are of marble. The architect is believed to be Lavius Fillmore, but it's unverified. What is verified is the house was built by Jones Galusha, and he lived here while he was the governor of the state of Vermont, which time was during the War of 1812. In 1814, he turned it into a tavern, naturally, but he restored it to its original condition a year or two after. It's like, oh, remember those few years when this place was a bar? Well, no, I'm just gonna live here again. I mean, it's still a bar, just no one else was invited. There's one bedroom where the walls have been painted by a French artist, which was done in exchange for his lodging. When the house was erected, there were fireplaces in nearly every room, but there are only 2 at the present time. And it's now owned by Pearl Harrington, who is a grandson of the great late Governor Galusha. How about that? I mean, that was a long time ago when I was written, so who knows if it still has the same owners and stuff. I don't know. I like the better owners of the tavern, personally, because then we got to see more than just the outside, you know? But so it goes. Actually, I lied. There's the inside right there. Beautiful. Beautiful home. It really is. All original doors and hardware, huh? I guess that's the original French painting. Wait, that's the painting? Well, if that's the kind of painting that got you free room and board, and all it cost you is to paint this and leave your boots, not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. I'd jump on that offer like a beast. General and governor during the War of 1812 of Vermont. Very interesting. That mysterious conflict. This is the Hawkins House in South Shaftesbury. The name of that town leads to perpetual giggles. This one was also built by Lavius Fillmore, allegedly, in 1798. It was owned and occupied at the time of the survey by Mr. and Mrs. C.W. Hawkins and was in excellent condition. This history dates back considerably more than a century for this home. Its architect was, without doubt, Lavius Fillmore, who was a pupil of Bullfinch, and the architect who built the Middlebury and Old Bennington congregational churches, as well as many of the old fine homes throughout the southern area. There's no record which fixes the exact date of the building, but there are account books in existence which are kept by Joshua Monroe, who was the owner, and the Monroe family were early settlers in Bennington County, and it was just initially a farm, which became the town of Shaftesbury. Till now, I think the farm only has about 300 acres left, of what a vast grant. Tradition has it that the house was 7 years in the building, and the account books kept from 1798 to 1812 contain many references to items which may have gone into the construction of this immense house. There are some amusing and tragic notes in the history of the old home, but the most tragic is the death of Joshua Monroe, who, embarrassed by bills and burdened by debts he could not pay, and he worried over the gradual slipping away of his ancestral acres, he hanged himself in one of the timbers in his own barn. So while the exterior is beautiful, the interior is no less interesting. One of the impressive features of the house is the immense hallway, which you, the viewer, don't get to see. You don't get to see any of the inside, actually. But we're told it's very attractive. There are 24 large rooms in this building, so the family must have been large or decidedly hospitable in nature. There are elaborately carved mantles that are said to be found in no other home in Vermont. Highly ornamented. And what's funny is that we don't get to see any of this. They don't show you any pictures of the inside. Marble lintels with no record to show the source of the stone. They use soapstone in the fireplaces, which retained and radiated heat to a greater degree than the bricks. The first example of the use of this stone. We're told Benjamin Franklin is commonly credited with having invented the first stove. I find that to be highly unlikely. But his was little more than a fireplace which extended into the room and gave a greater degree of heat in the open fire. But Bennington claims credit for a still earlier stove, which is an iron inset which fitted the fireplace opening and forced the flames and smoke towards the front of the opening, thereby giving out a greater degree of heat. The house has a number of these stoves, which are probably among the few products of the early Bennington furnaces now in existence. So we're told all about the colonial fittings in the doorway and all these things that we don't get to see. So, ha ha ha. I guess the joke's on us. Freaking survey. Benjamin Franklin. Just messing around, inventing a fireplace and invented the kite. Invented electricity. Invented, yeah, right. Get the frick out of here. Nobody had a stove before Benjamin Franklin came along. Yeah, what kind of fools do they think we are? Do you think we believe this crap? Because we totally do sometimes. White Pillar. That's the name of this house. Built in 1800, and that's all you get to know. And this one looks remarkably brick-ish. A lot of bricks in that one. Oh, gonna jump to something. There's one little picture, that's it. This is old Ben Thresher's mill, and we're told that it was originally Alexander Jack built the mill as a dye and print works in 1872. Then there was a wagon shop established and a blacksmith shop added in 1895. The plank dam is still intact at the time of the writing. Rodney Hunt, horizontal turbine still powers wood and metalworking machinery. They also had a hydraulic cider press installed in 1915, which was still there. Ben Thresher bought the mill in 1947, after it was already 70 years old. And no telling if it's still running. I see the dam is still in place, but I doubt that this place is still in use by the rather dilapidated and dangerous-looking appearance. But that's just a reckless speculation. So the area, Barnett Township, chartered 1763 by Governor Wentworth, chief proprietors of the township, Enos and Willard Stevens, contracted Colonel John Hurd to build the first saw and grist mill at the Stevens Falls. Colonel Hurd was a native of Boston, prominent citizen, member of the Provincial Congress. He agreed, built the mills, provided that Stevens would supply the mill irons and deliver them to the falls, and under his direction the mills were completed in 1771. In return for building the first one, he gets 100 acres of land that run along the bank of Connecticut River. He himself cleared up about 20 acres, erected buildings, and encouraged the settlement of Stevens Village, but later changed his name to Barnett Village. So by 1773, there were 15 families in the village. Colonel Hurd leaves and goes back to Haverhill, and both of his mills were deeded to Willard Stevens. And this began in the 1770s, the first decade of rural industry in this region of Vermont. A bunch of Scottish settlers arrived in 1780, including one Alexander Harvey, who was the agent for the United Company of Farmers for the shires of Perth and Stirling in Scotland. Harvey gets to America in 1774 to examine the country and selects the Green Mountains of Barnett as a desirable location for colonization. He buys 7,000 acres from Samuel Stevens, and after the Revolutionary War, by 1790, there were 74 families here. They built a sawmill, they built a grist mill, they built a tannery, and a flax oil mill. The manufacture of pot and pearl ashes called salts was extensive. Charcoal was made for local blacksmiths, and with the salts exported it down the Connecticut River to Wells River and to Hartford, Vermont. Maple sugaring began, which continues to this present day. So it's a unique community, this Barnett Center, and the first mill in the area was probably erected on the site of this here defunct mill. Well, I guess not defunct, but looks like it used some tidying up, the touch of a little female presence in there, Take some of these pictures down and put them in the closet. Let you know how ugly they are, It's a universal sign. You find a picture you had hung up, stuffed in a closet, and, well, you have bad taste. That's cool. Just roll with it. Just hang it up inside the closet, I guess. That's what I'd do. That's what I did. That's what I still do. There's little talk of a Goodwillie sawmill, which was demolished in 1855, which was open to interpretation, we're told. The mill possibly flooded out or destroyed by fire, or it just fell down. So what are we looking at here? All right, let's go back. What you're looking at here is, this is just the elevation. This is the cider mill and the woodworking mill. This is just looking out over the pond and the mill, the dam. This is just closer details, I guess, of the dam construction. Up here is a steam box, which they would use to bend wood. And you can see table saw here, and a little cordwood saw. This is the attic. This is the wagon repair and paint shop. This is on the second floor. This is the first floor, the woodworking mill. We got the wheel horse set up here, and there's that table saw again. And this is looking towards the blacksmith shop. They all kind of share the same space here. And that would be the water turbine and various line shafts, and the woodworking mill with that old world steam boiler. And this looks like This is the blacksmith shop. We get the coal bin back here, and this is just more of the blacksmith shop. This is a heating stove and the pier, which is hidden under there, but I see you, cutie. And there's a tire shrinker. And over here you got the generator room, showing the remains of a 1923 6-cylinder Studebaker engine. This is the cider mill, with this is the apple hopper, where you mash them apples. And this is the basement of the cider mill. Okay, just so you know what we're looking at. Over here's the pump, the hydraulic pump, and the press for the ciders, the pump and the press. And this is the Ben Thresher's house himself, who owns and runs this mill at the time of this here writing. And you can see the parts to the new water turbine that looks like Amazon has just dropped off right here. Gonna turn the page on this here. Ben Thresher's gonna freshen her up, give her a new life. Yes, sir. This here is the E&T Fairbanks and Company factory complex. E&T Fairbanks and Company factory. E&T no longer phone home, as this place was destroyed in 1972. It used to manufacture the famous platform scales invented by Thaddeus Fairbanks in 1830. There were 40 buildings here, 23 acres of floor space, and has been called the only true Gothic revival industrial factory in America. Although that's no longer true because it's not here anymore, so now it's no longer anything. A Gothic revival industrial factory, huh? What a world. This is the old loading platform, and this is the weather log, which is supposed to tell you what happened here. Significant storm, October 20th, 10 inches of rain, 10 inches of snow, first snow, big flood, June 1st, 1952, November 4th, the big flood. What is the great flood? Big flood here. It's one way to do that. I would have thought that was just graffiti. I start doing that when I go graffiti bathrooms, which I never do, but I'm going to start doing it. I'm just going to be like, several inches of rain, October. Dry dust storm, June 1st. Read that weather log, janitor, when you come clean up my graffiti. It's useful, though. And I see now what they mean about the Gothic stuff, the shapes of the windows and the things like that. And that is a very interesting choice for an industrial mill complex to have any sort of architectural detailing like that. I'll admit, it seems a little odd, unless it was never intended to be an industrial complex. Did you think about that? Wow, it's amazing. Look at just the stack, just the pressed planks together. That is an impressive technique right there. Massive building. Too bad they couldn't make use of it, huh? They had to just destroy it. Seems rather odd, doesn't it? That is pretty cool stuff, if you're a total nerd. And that's one thing that these surveys have taught me that never occurred to me before. I am a total nerd. How about that? First Congregational Society Church here, Pearl Street and Elmwood Avenue in Burlington. And, what's old, in 1870, no one knows the builder or the architect. In 1872, the mahogany pulpit was taken down to be replaced by the present one of black walnut. Couldn't find any other records, they say, other than this, from a book entitled History of Burlington, which goes on with a meeting held of the Society, April 22, 1815, voted to build a meeting house. Chauncey Langdon and Horace Loomis and E.T. Inglesby deeded the land for $1,000 and tied it up so it could only be used for religious purposes. So they held the conference, everyone pledged money, and some mystery man built it. Sometime a Mr. Peabody was a minister, a new organ was put in, and a new clock. It was said then to be the finest in the country. I don't know who said that. They were not available for interview. Eventually they were able to add a Sunday school room and parlors, and they added a large chandelier of 72 lights from the center of the ceiling. The spirit of improvement seemed to urge on to greater works, for we find the parlors thrown into each other, the dining room enlarged, and equipped with electric lights, and finally in 1892 fresh carpets and the iron grill work back of the pulpit. Then the stained glass windows are presented to the church by Mr. William Loomis. Long may they shed their subdued light as reminders of those two noble souls, Henry and Julia Loomis, his father and mother. To those that knew the name of Loomis means generosity, rectitude, and unfailing devotion to church interests. His purse was ever open, from the weightier matters of church finances down to the useless articles at church fairs. At his hospitable table, newcomers, no doubt, were made to feel at home and to know the friendliness of genuine simplicity, odd foundation. But perhaps even more characteristic of the man were his hidden deeds of kindness, for his left hand knew not what his right hand did. Leaving substantial sums with poor Bridget or paying college expenses for those less fortunate, those were just but a few types of his generous service for others. And now, this church is left to others, to add to the rich heritage of the past. That's all I got for you. Oh, it's a Unitarian church, by the way. Deming Isham House, built somewhere around 1800, possibly to 1825. No one knows. No one knows anything. But it is beautiful. I'll give you that. We got wrought iron detailing on that door window. It's dope. Lantern hanging above it. Cool touch. What a home. A lot of grand little homes out here in Vermont, huh? One wonders what the original construction and purpose were all about. Look at that one. Why is this necessary? What is going on here? Can't find information about these. Not even a number. Your usual little submerged floor here. Very odd. The old round meeting house. Town common. I'd say it's more of a, decagon? Is that right? I don't know why you have to have this bell and stuff. Meeting house. I guess what? It just doubles as a church. We get together to argue about things. Hey, you want to talk? You get up on that pulpit. Otherwise, you shut your mouth, okay? Shut it. Not much is known about this except for this gorgeous little old world beauty. Yeah, see this furniture with this thing on the top? Like, what is this? Why are these urns so present in all this old tech? I just gotta know. But if people know, they ain't talking. This is the Porter Screen Warehouse and Distributing Company in East Spring, Winooski. And it was an integral part of the complex, which was built between 1895 and 1900, connected to the rest of the complex by a bridge. I wonder if this was an old four-pronged tower, but I'll never know. Fieldstone foundations, load-bearing masonry walls, connected to the other buildings around it by bridges. Bridges everywhere. What a massive building. This, of course, is a mitigation effort because they destroyed this to build Section 8 housing for the elderly. So, that's it. No more. No more huge, wonderful old building. Rather odd to be such a vast building that just looks like they're restoring the wood here. Just gave it up. Gave it up or whatever, I guess. Or maybe they're just converting it into this is the process of them converting it into the Section 8 housing, possibly? I don't know. The records aren't clear, okay? Pleasing food store, eh? Speak for yourself. I'm not pleased one bit. In fact, I'm displeased. This is the St. John's Church, and we're told it was built somewhere around 1830. And also we're told nothing. So yeah. No shortage of these old churches out here in Vermont, are there? They're beautiful, very picturesque. It just seems odd the whole thing. The only thing that makes sense for, if they're not churches, the only thing that makes sense is that they had something to do with providing some service for the local area. So a lot of them being power stations, it makes sense in theory. As to why there's one in literally every town and village. And I know people were more religious, but it's this grandiose nature of them in the steeple that's what's confusing. This is the Hyde Jackson log cabin, built in 1783. And nothing else about it, other than Jedediah Hyde Jr., Revolutionary War soldier, moved here and restored it. Not built it, but moved here and destroyed it and restored it. So it was already a thing, I guess. And here we've got what we're calling the Island House. This Island House, there is zero reason for this to be called the Island House, that I can tell. Because there's zero information. That's why I can't tell. 1829 is the erection date. Man, that's a big place. Looks like it's being used as a hotel nowadays, but that's it. That's all you get. One picture. One picture, folks. Seems to be a rule. No matter the more interesting the building is, the less you get to learn about it. You don't just get to just learn for free. This is a brick house, if you couldn't tell. I just told you. Called the Lebbeus Egerton House. These names are crazy. He was a Vermont politician. He was the original owner. We're told that this was erected, it was wood in 1801 and they added the brick front in 1830. The architect, they presume, was the same Egerton, but no one knows. There's no plans, anything like that. Mr. Egerton was a representative of the Vermont State Congress in 1825 and lieutenant governor of Vermont in 1831 to 1835, rising to political power in the anti-Masonic Party movement of the 20s and disappeared from political life with the decline of the party in the 1830s. Wow. I mean, if you're in the anti-Masonic Party, you should expect to be disappeared. He was superintendent of the Vermont Capitol building, which was later burned, hopefully with him not superintending inside. Interesting. I like that. Anti-Masonic Party. Imagine if the Masons were just a good old boys club to serve the community, as we're told, had nothing to do with politics. Then why would there be an anti-Masonic actual political party? Seems like Mr. Egerton knew something, and thusly was forced to disappear, along with the rest of his party of ne'er-do-gooders. Probably how history writes it. But really, sounds like you were a modern conspiracy theorist, Mr. Egerton, which means I know all about you already. Who you voted for, what you believe, what your vaccination status is, all that stuff. You just told me everything, Mr. Egerton. Now I can put you in the most easiest box that there is. So, Mr. Egerton, let me ask you just one question. How long have you been a racist? This is more of the Egerton House, with all its amazing detailings and the looms. The Chase Redfield House on Main Street in Randolph Center, Randolph, in Orange County, Vermont. This house is associated with an important Vermont family, which I shall now tell you about. Dudley Chase was the builder and owner. He was born in Cornish, New Hampshire. He was Vermont State's attorney, worked for the state legislature, House Speaker, U.S. Senator, and Judge of Supreme Court. Dudley Chase was the uncle of Salmon Chase of Cornish, New Hampshire, who was the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. They studied law in this home together. That's what we're told. And a finer home couldn't be found in all the land in which to study law. I'll add. It really is. Quite a looker. Pretty incredible. It is odd that all of these homes are owned by judges or politicians. Because I thought, to serve as a judge and a politician is like a service more, it's not supposed to be like the wealthiest people in the land. That never ends up well, and you get situation like we have all over the world, I guess such is the nature of man. This is the Chase Redfield barn, which belonged to the Chase Redfield house. The Stratford Meeting House on the Green, well-preserved, severe wooden structure on an imposing site, constructed in 1799. Although the belfry and tower we're told they added in 1832 for reasons unknown. Also unknown as the architect and builder and supplier. Paid for by local tax, and the interior was finished by the sale of pews. Pew pew. The original plans, however, do say a steeple towering to the skies, with high balustrades, shutting families in so many pews, a lofty pulpit with a sounding board hanging over it, a heavy gallery, and the inevitable pin-shaped pews running around 3 sides of the upper story. Taken from an article by Senator Justin Smith Morrill, or Strafford, of Strafford, in Himway, from the Vermont Historical Gazetter. Thank you. The bell was cast in 1832 by George Holbrook, and the exterior survives unaltered. The town meeting house was typically built to accommodate local civic and religious bitch fests, and was made available to the various religious groups in town, according to a specified schedule. At the time of the disestablishment of the churches in Vermont in the late 1820s, most of the meeting houses passed into possession of the churches. There was a religious controversy in Strafford in the 1830s. However, both of the leading church groups built their own churches, and as a result, this meeting house remained the property of the town of Strafford, and it still serves as the town meeting house for this very small town. Very small town needs the tower. That's right. The small town is ours. Ours gets the tower. Sours gets the tower. Sours gets the tower. What is the meaning of that steeple, man? That is very impressive. Like a lighthouse up there at one point? I mean, just odd, man. Odd to need that. What a beautiful building. I'd go there even if I had nothing to complain about. Wow, look at this bad boy. What is going on here? This is odd things to have here just on a house of this smaller stature. I don't think I've ever seen that before, but I like it. And of course, this house belongs to Senator Justin Smith Morrill, also in Strafford. A strongly personal Gothic revival style. I'd say so. Home of the senator, eh? Built in 1848, and the senator was also the architect, of course. This senator served 44 continuous years in the House and Senate, conceived and brought to passage the Morrill Act, which through governmental aid led directly to the establishment of our entire present state of state-supported agricultural, scientific, and industrial schools of college rank. When last we checked, the Strafford, Vermont Historical Society was negotiating to buy the home in order to preserve it as a historical site. That remains to be seen, said the past about our future, which is actually our past now, too. Or maybe our present. Maybe. Still, though, no one, including the writer or your narrator here, knows what the future holds. So, and neither of us is really too sure about what the past held, or what the present currently holds. So if you're looking for any answers of any type, look not to me or the writings here. Thank you. The Latham House on the road to Thetford Hill. Rather large but typical early Vermont farmhouse. Built before 1802, probably in the 1770s. There's a few photographs and drawings from the 1840s which show that it has never changed. I think Abner Chamberlain, son of William Chamberlain, one of the 1761 grantees in the 1770s, built it, but no one knows. They added a porch, and that's all they've done in the past 200 years, this house. Wow. Look at that furnace. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Stuff like this. Why did they exist if not for function? Oh, what lies beyond yonder brick wall? Pay no, that is the east. That is the West Wing, and you are never to enter there under any circumstances. All right, man, I'm just asking, dude. It's kind of obvious to break it up, you know? Thought there might have been like an old mural back there or something. You don't gotta get all Gothic creepy on me. Seems like Gothic doesn't need to be revived. It never died. It just went underground, just like disco. This is the First Congregational Society Church in Burlington. That's not a title. They're just all called First Congregational Society. That's what I've learned, because there's been dozens of them. A Unitarian church, built in 1816. No one knows the builder or architect, of course. Wait a second. Wait, look at this one. This is that same church built by Mr. Englesby. This is after the alterations, though. I see. Wonder why they're giving us these pictures again. Never mind. Take all that out. This is St. Paul's Episcopal Church, an early church in Windsor, and an early work by the Boston architect Alexander Paris. It was built and owned continuously by St. Paul's Episcopal Church, consecrated in 1822, based on an illustrated letter from the architect. And what a looker. Started with 25 members. Built all this for 25 people. Very odd. Primarily composed of brick, sound, and well-maintained. Oh my god. Wow, there's that Capitol building again. Just look at that thing. Unbelievable. And I'll bet that this was once a fountain. Maybe the whole thing might have been a fountain. See water coming out here. The symmetry, the whole thing is just beautiful. And there's just no possibility that this was built in the year that they say that it was built. And for the reasons, I mean, it's ridiculous. These are little ants compared to these columns. But man, that is stunning. And we're going to end this one on this rather high note. And I'll see you soon.